What just happened over at the post-match press conference after the Leeds United game? Well, it was a pretty bombshell of a post-match with a bit of a cryptic message. And this is what Ruben Amorim had to say in that press conference.
Guys, to stop with that, and I noticed that you receive selective information about everything. I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach of Manchester United. And that is clear. I know that my name is not Tuchel, is not Conte, is not Mourinho, but I'm the manager of Manchester United. And it's going to be like this for 18 months, or when the board decided to change. So that was my point. I want to finish with that. I'm not going to quit. I will do my job until other guy is coming here to replace me. I just want to say that I'm going to be the manager of this team, not just the coach. And I was really clear on that. And that is going to finish in 18 months. And then everyone is going to move on. That was the deal. That is my job, not to be a coach. If people cannot handle the Gary Nevilles and the criticisms of everything, we need to change the club. No, guys, I just want to say that I came here to be the manager of Manchester United, not to be the coach. And every department, the scouting department, the sport director needs to do their job. I will do mine for 18 months and then we move on.
Thank you, guys.
Ooh, seems to be suggesting a lot there. Reading between the lines there, Scott, was this a message to the hierarchy? What is he trying to say here?
Yeah, hi Michelle, and great to be reunited with Trev. And there's us thinking we were going to talk Chelsea mainly and Manchester City, and then of course you get your United in, don't you? Honestly, Ruben Amorim, that is just mind-blowing. I mean, that's as big as you could possibly expect a manager to come out and say about the fractions that's going on behind the scenes of him, managing up. Quite clearly, he's unhappy. He's been unhappy for some time. Jason Wilcox, it looks like, has perhaps just been saying to him, well, why can't you change systems? And he's turning around and saying, well, if you're listening to pundits out there, like the Gary Nevilles and others, then we need to change the club. And in that respect, I actually think he's right. They shouldn't be listening to anybody from the outside. But if Jason Wilcox genuinely believes that Ruben Amorim, along with a lot of us, I mean, don't forget, he said last season the Pope wouldn't change his mind in terms of the system. And now he has changed his mind. So I think that there's been a lot of inconsistencies with Ruben Amorim. I like him. He talks a lot. He gives us a lot of headlines. But I do think it looks like he's not going to walk away. But quite clearly, he's not happy at all, and he'll do his job. I don't think he'll last 18 months. I mean, you can't come out and say something like that and then expect to be in the job for 18 months. So something, somewhere, has to give, and we'll see what happens in the next few days and few weeks.
Well, almost nothing good happens to the manager after speaking out against the hierarchy or the ownership. You only have to look at what happened to Enzo Maresca, really, to know what's about to happen. Is the writing on the wall for Ruben Amorim then, Trev?
I think so. And again, thank you for having me, Michelle. Great to be reunited with Scott. For me, he's furious. I think that's why he's coming out with it. It's obviously a disappointing result away against Leeds. But I just don't feel he feels valued. His opinions and the way that he wants to play, his philosophies are not being respected by the hierarchy, or they're being questioned at least. And as a manager, he wants to be a manager, and he stated that manager, not head coach. So that means he wants to manage the team, manage the strategies, manage the formation, manage the team selection. And in a similar way to Enzo, I just feel he feels he's not being valued and he's not being respected the way he should be as being the leader of that group of players.
But what he said then at press conference, he said after the end of the 18 months, he's going to move on. And I'm just thinking from the other side of the perspective, if you were Jason Wilcox, if you were the hierarchy, you're thinking to yourself, if you're going to move on, why are we going to spend so many players to fit your system when more than likely the next manager after you is probably not going to utilize those players, Trev?
I think that's half the problem, though. I think you look at the system that he wants to play, and he plays a 3-4-3. And in the heart of that four in the midfield, the two midfielders have got to be very mobile. And he's been a fantastic player, Casemiro, but he hasn't got the legs to cover the ground in that position in the two. Most teams in the Premier League, or a lot of teams, play with three central midfielders. And if you're against the two and one of them's Bruno, you're going to find it difficult to get complete control of the football match and actually dominate possession. And I think that's where Manchester United are struggling. They've not been able to dominate possession. They've not been able to get the results that they want to get in his period of time. And talking about the hierarchy, it's changed because Jason Wilcox, when he was part of the hierarchy when Ruben Amorim joined the club, he was the technical director. Now he's head of football. He's complete in control of the football club from a football perspective. So his roles change, and I think that's where the questions and the queries are coming from him down to the manager, and the manager doesn't feel comfortable about that.
Do you think then, Scott, that Ruben Amorim will see out the season? Or considering, I just wonder if it's the worst 48 hours he's had as a Manchester United manager. Do you think he'll see out the season?
Well, he won't see out his contract for sure. And if it carries on down this route of what we've just seen, and we don't know the fallout of this particular conversation and press conference, we know what happened with Enzo Maresca following the press conference after the Everton game, and it kind of snowballed behind the scenes then. I would guess if he's that adamant, Ruben Amorim, and if Jason Wilcox is that adamant as well, I don't see how they can last a couple of months, let alone to the end of the season, and definitely not at the end of the contract. Somewhere, someone has to give, even if it's just a little bit of a truce. Well, look, let's just, because, Manchester United, any good club should be thinking who we're going to get in to bring in after the particular manager we've got in at the moment. Brighton are the perfect example of that, where they know already by the time they appoint someone who the next manager they want to be. I don't know if Manchester United plan that far ahead, because it looks like it's almost just they're looking one step at a time. If they have got someone who they think they want, then Ruben Amorim's not going to last a couple of months, let alone the end of the season. If they haven't, they might just say, well, look, just give us time. Let's do a bit of a truce and let's get to the end of the season. Let's see where we are. And then we'll just say goodbye to everybody. But listen, Manchester United, this is one of the biggest clubs in the world, the biggest club in England. You can't be having the manager and the technical director and the head of football in this particular situation having a public spat. It just cannot happen.